Survivor Thrivers, Authentically Me, Regina B, is here to film an update on week 6. We are to day 3. I've actually completed all the days, but today's video is covering day 3. So let's hop right into it. I have a little different setup. Like, I really enjoy filming in my kitchen as well as my children's artwork as the background. But today the natural lighting is not the vibe because it's an overcast outside and it's also like 3:15, so the sun is somewhere probably over here. So I have this ring light that I found in my room on, and if I look thrown together, I totally am. I did a 5-mile run earlier on the treadmill. And yeah, your girl got in the shower, just threw on whatever she wanted to throw on. And this is not a glam channel. And yeah, I wanted to go ahead and get something filmed before my other children get off of school. Gracelyn is distracted over there. She has some popcorn and she has a little device that she's on. So let's hop right into it. And for those of you that are new, hey, shout out to my 2 newest subscribers. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And thank you to my day 1 CD. And thank you to all my other day 1s that have been a part of this journey. I greatly, greatly appreciate your support. But for those of you that are new to the channel, this is the workbook that we're working through. It is Cognitive Behavioral Therapy in 7 Weeks, Retrain Your Brain by Dr. Seth Gillihan. And then the other one is more lighthearted. It is Let That Go by Monica Sweeney. It is a journal for leaving your bull behind and creating a happy life, or a balanced life, because happiness is a feeling just like anger. And what we are learning is that we don't trust our feelings because they are fleeting. Okay, they 1 minute they one thing and the next day another. So let's jump right into day 3, which is right here. It says do it on purpose. And also, for those of you that are new, every week he has a different client therapy session that he uses to reference what he's talking about, I guess, to kind of help us understand. Because if we just had these questions without some type of example, maybe, well, for me, maybe I wouldn't get it. But I do enjoy the fact that he includes his client, a therapy session in regards to whatever we're going to be talking about. So let's get right into it. And if you haven't watched day 2, go ahead and check that out. It'll definitely help you understand day 3. So do it on purpose. I understand the idea of exposure, Julia told me, as we were planning which activities to begin with. But why am I afraid of the things I'm already doing? I mean, it's not like I never talk in group meetings and I tell my supervisor my ideas. Can you tell me about a time recently when you spoke in a group meeting, I asked. Sure, she said. Kevin asked each of us to give an update on how our project was going. When it came to my turn, I was really nervous, but I said what I had to and felt like I did an okay job. Is that how it usually goes? I asked her. When you speak up, is it usually because you have to, or do you do it voluntarily? She thought about it and said, I guess it's pretty much only when I'm really expected to. I mean, I don't tend to say things out of the blue. I'd be afraid people would think it was dumb. It was a dumb idea and that I should have just kept it to myself. So Julia's example raises an important question. Exposure needs to be done on purpose to be effective. Intentionally defying our desire to avoid our fears sends a powerful message to our brain. Maybe we don't have to be so afraid. After all, how bad could it be if I'm facing it deliberately? Choosing to face our fears is more effective than facing them against our will or with limited choice in the matter. For these reasons, exposure is never something that can be done to us, like forcing a person to touch a snake. So as you know from day 2, if you watch day 2, he's talking about exposing yourself to, it's called exposure therapy, and it's where you expose yourself, you deliberately expose yourself to something that you're afraid of. So it says, consider a time when you encounter, consider a time when you encounter the things you're afraid of without trying to. How helpful was it in reducing your fear? And I put, here we go. I said, yes, I can think of a time, and it proved to me that I can do the things I am afraid of, and it never is as bad as my thoughts said it would be. So that's what I said to that. And it said, repetition, repeat as needed. I did it, Julia told me the following week. I went out with some friends and I went out with my coworkers and it went pretty well. None of the major disasters I was afraid of actually happened. Great. What did you learn about this experience? Well, maybe I shouldn't be so nervous in these situations. But then again, it was only one time and maybe I just got lucky. Maybe with a different mix of people or different topics of conversations, or if I'm feeling tired, it could go really badly. Stop trying to creep around back there.
I'm being quiet. I'm being super quiet.
You are. So, but, and you know, at the bottom when she's really excited, like at first she's like, I did it. And then as she starts to think about it, it's like, well, maybe it was just a fluke. I do that all the time. And let's start challenging ourselves to celebrate our successes, our victories a little bit longer than one sentence. Like she's like, I did it. And then she's like, well, maybe next time. And I do that. So I'm really going to challenge myself to just celebrate my victories, celebrate my successes, and not start projecting into the future. Like, well, maybe, no, it went the way that it was supposed to, and it was awesome, and I crushed it, and I killed it, now let's go. No. Okay, so moving right along. As Julia found, doing something one time is an act of courage, but it's not therapy. The therapy comes in repeating the activities until we start to feel more comfortable doing them. Our nervous systems usually don't stop being afraid of a situation after facing it one time, and for good reason. We've all probably done something dangerous one time and gotten away with it, and realized immediately after how lucky we were. It takes repetition to dampen our fears. Additionally, our repeated exposures need to be relatively close together in time. Okay, very good. So stay through the discomfort. So I'm not going to read all of this. Day 3 was a lot of reading, but basically what she is saying is she did it again. She went out with her coworkers after work, and there was a moment where she did have to go into the bathroom, and she thought to herself while looking in the mirror, I could easily just slip away. And so he asked her, well, what stopped you? And she smiled and said, well, for one, I knew we'd have this conversation and I didn't want to say I ran away. And more than that, I'm tired of running away. I've been running from my fears, but I'm also running away from life. How am I ever going to meet someone and fall in love if I can't get through this? And so it says, as we work through our hierarchy, it's important that we stay in a situation long enough to learn something new. If we run away at the first feeling of discomfort, we'll be reinforcing our avoidance behavior and the belief that had we stayed, things could have been really bad. Are there situations you fled from because you had a spike in your anxiety? What do you think would have happened had you stayed? So I put, I'm not sure. I'm a little bit different. If I'm there and I have committed, I usually stay and just tough through the anxiety. How I flee is I will just avoid the situation altogether by not going. And my situation obviously is different from Julia's. I'm married. I have a very big family, so I don't have to put myself out there. And now that I have been doing all the work that I've been doing to just, continue to try to be the best version of myself, is I don't put myself in situations that make me feel uncomfortable. Now, that could be going against this particular exposure, but for me, especially coming from such a toxic family, like I don't put myself around situations where I feel like I'm not going to be safe, which is obviously what he said. He said, don't go out there and try to, grab a snake or mess with a bee that stings. And so for me, that's what that means. But usually if I am going somewhere and I've committed to it, it's something that I want to do. And even if I feel anxiety, which I always feel a little bit of social anxiety, I just tough through it. Like there's been times when I've gone into the bathroom and thought I'm ready to go, but I'm not going to be a brat about it. And I'm just going to tough through it. I'm going to tough through it. So the next section says eliminate unnecessary props. And again, I'm not going to read all of it, but he basically is saying that she has some behaviors that she uses as comforting tools to help her. Like maybe putting your hands in your pocket or fiddling with somebody. You know, the kids got the fidget spinners, they got the poppets. So anyway, it says, I asked her what she's learned from letting go of some of these behaviors. I feel like Dumbo, she said. I looked at her quizzically and she continued, he could fly because he had large ears, but he thought he could fly because of the magic feather his friends gave him. All these props were my magic feathers, and like Dumbo, if I dropped my feather, I thought I was sunk. Like when I couldn't remember the words I'd memorized. Now I can speak up in a meeting and just do my best, and so far it's gone fine. And another thing she would do is like memorize, practice what she was gonna say in front of her coworkers, which is exhausting. It says, what Julia was describing her magic feathers have been called safety behaviors because they're intended to protect us in situations where we're anxious. As Julia discovered, most of the time these behaviors are not necessary and they can even be detrimental. For example, a man might memorize a list of questions to ask his date in case there's a lull in the conversation. Instead of having a natural conversation, he might end up cutting off interesting topics of conversation and asking a series of unimportant questions. Whatever this word is. SEQUITURS. I don't know. So it says, think about your own feared situations and things you might do to prevent what you're afraid of from happening. Do any of these behaviors strike you as unnecessary safety behaviors that you could consider dropping? Record your thoughts here. This is page 168. So I said yes, thinking or overly thinking about a possible scenario and imagining what I would say, how I would look, and what the other person will say or do. It's exhausting and pointless. Every time what I think will happen or be said never actually happens. So true. So then it says, embrace discomfort and uncertainty. So basically, he asked her how the presentation went. She said worse than she expected and yet better than I expected. And so she's basically saying that she did have some mess ups. She was uncomfortable, but she kept fighting through the uncertainty and through being uncomfortable. So obviously from the title, embrace discomfort and uncertainty. So it says when we do what we're afraid of, it's almost certainly going to be uncomfortable. We can resist that discomfort or we can choose to embrace it. When we accept that it's going to be scary, the fear has less power over us. It will be uncomfortable, no better and no worse, just uncomfortable. We can lean into uncertainty just as we lean into discomfort. Rather than backing away from unknowns, we can tell ourselves, I don't know what will happen and I'm willing to do it anyway. And I underline that because that's so true. That is so true. When facing your own fears, how can you encourage yourself to endure the inevitable discomfort and to accept the inherent uncertainty? Examples include reminding yourself it will be hard and why you're willing to do it anyway, fostering an attitude of curiosity towards the experience. Let's see what's going to happen. Keeping in mind what motivated you to face your fears in the first place. In the space below, write what you'll remind yourself when tempted to pull back from facing uncertain or uncomfortable situations. And at the bottom, he has a quote here, and it says, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than one's fears. And I'm sorry, that's Ambrose Redmoon. So what did I put down here? This is page 170. He said, write down some things that can encourage yourself. And I put, it may be challenging, but you can do this. I hope all will go well. It's never as bad as you imagine. I can handle discomfort. Pray, be anxious for nothing. Those are just some things I tell myself, as well as like, yeah, it's challenging, but you can do it. You can do this. You can do this. So that was day 3 and we are done, baby. I have day 4 done, but like I said, I wanted to keep the video shorter for you guys. So I'm not going to do day 4 until another video. And I also haven't started week 7 yet. And like I told you guys before, I've already picked out the next books we're going to go through. So yay! So this was December 30th, rainbows for days. Life isn't all sunny skies. It's dark clouds, it's lightning, it's a windy cyclone of things you can't control. But the beauty of this combination of sunshine, water, and wind is that the rainbow emerges. On this cloudier side of the page, write down some of the difficult things in your life. On the sunny side, write some of the brighter things next to the little rainbow. Write the positive results of this colorful title, colorful little friendship between the sun and the clouds. Negative thought patterns I put on my cloudy day. Just negative thoughts, just negative thoughts. And so it says, honestly, as I sit here and try to think about my difficulties, I don't have any. I make things difficult by overthinking or worrying about how I am being perceived, what others think, but I do not have a difficult life. And that is true. Yeah, I may make things difficult by overthinking, which is why we're doing this work. But as far as like having a difficult life, like, no, I don't. And I'm very, very grateful for that. So we are coming to the end of this wonderful journey. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me, for being with me. Week 6, Facing Your Fears, has really, really helped me. And I do agree with a lot of the things that he says as far as like brain rewards, because like I've been a runner for 3 years now, coming up on 4. And to even run outside used to scare me. Like there was a time in my life where I was held up in this house and literally looking out the window, and it was like a squirrel on the line. And I remember just feeling so much fear. And I started going outside. I started going up to my local track and just walking. And I've always wanted to be a runner. I've always enjoyed seeing people outdoors running. And it's just something that I always wanted to do. And I had to overcome every single thought obstacle that came my way. You look stupid. You're so slow. You look at your butt jiggling, and you know what I mean? Like people are probably like, what's who she thinks she is? And you know, if I would go up to the track and I'm by myself and a group of men or young men would come, I would start to have fearful thoughts then. And every time I kept pushing through, every time I did not quit when I wanted to, every time I stepped outside my door and decided to go enjoy my neighborhood and run in my neighborhood and live that blessing that I wanted, it was rewarding. And I would always come back like, wow, I did it. Thank you, God. I'm back and I'm safe and I'm here. So I definitely agree that when we do things that we're afraid of, it just does something to our brain. Like, I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't know what it does, but I feel like it sends some kind of transmitter to some area that has been, that has been turned off or that has been without electricity. And it's like pumping energy to that area. Like, come on. Or like, the lawnmower, like, come on, come on, brain. But anyway, thank you guys so much. If you've made it to this part of the video, thank you for spending the time with me. You could have spent it doing anything else, and the fact that you chose to spend it with me, I really, really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you're notified whenever I upload a video, and you can hit the bell and that'll give you an actual notification. Definitely share the channel, especially share it if there's someone out there that you feel like this information will really, really help. Maybe they won't get the book, but maybe they'll watch somebody go through the book. So that's cool too. But thank you so much, and leave a comment. And I just want to let you know, if you haven't heard it this week, if you haven't heard it today, you right there, you matter.